So I'm gonna start with my first impression about this book. I picked Atalanta by Jennifer Saint because lately I'm getting more interested in Greek mythology because I love, I love Madeline Miller so much. I love Song of Achilles and Circe. Those two books. If I remember those two books, I'm gonna feel weight on my heart. So that's why I think that I want to dig more about the Greek mythology books. And then, since I've got another recommendation from Jennifer Saint, so I just pick up this book. And what I know is that this book was a retelling story about Atalanta, which is a student of the Greek goddess Artemis. So before starting Atalanta, I honestly don't know how much about Atalanta herself. I only know she's a famous huntress, and a student from god Artemis, which is peak of feminists, and I love Artemis. That's actually made me want to, read this book. I love mythology retellings. I love it. And I love that this book has a promise that it was a retelling from overlooked female characters and a chance to, I want to know a chance to tell their stories. And so far, the book has a strong sense of adventure and independence from Atalanta herself. And Atalanta feels like a character that you want to root for. And I'm looking forward to seeing where her story goes. So I'm gonna start with the premise. The premise is Atalanta is a Greek mythology retelling, which is about the legendary huntress Atalanta, who was abandoned as a baby and raised in the forest by goddess Artemis. The story follows her journey, an outcast to a renowned heroine, as she takes part in the most famous story in the Greek mythology. If you ever heard about the Argonaut, well, she is the only female character in the Argonaut story. So, must be interesting, right? So, I'm gonna start with what's working for me so far. And I believe it's Atalanta herself. She's a good protagonist, and I love her fiercely independent she is, since I've expected a feminist heroine. I wanted a female character who is brave and good, but at the same time she still feels vulnerable and relatable. Well, she have many confusion and desire of belong to the Argonaut crew. And I'm also a huge fan of the mythology elements. Every time a figure from Greek mythology appears, it feels exciting, and it's kind of a little bit overwhelming, but at the right amount. And I believe the writing is another highlight. It's easy to read, descriptive without being too dense, and it does a great job of bringing the ancient world to life. And then I want to talk about my biggest issue from this book, which was definitely her romance with Meleager. I don't know how to say his name, Meleager or Meleager. Well, I fucking hate it. The cheating trope, I fucking hate cheating trope, because the cheating aspect completely soured the relationship for me. I know some readers might find it tragic or emotionally complex, but personally, cheating trope is a trope that I rarely enjoy, and regardless of the context. Because of that, I never really fully connected with her, with the character, with the Atalanta herself, and with the romance. Every time it's become a focus of the story, I found myself less engaged than I was with Atalanta's journey, man, and Atalanta's adventures. I fucking hate it. And to finish this 350 pages, I have to suffer. I literally have to suffer like almost of the story because the cheating trope. I cannot engage with the story. Another issue I had with this book is that everything heavily revolve around Atlanta. I mean, since it's her story, I expect she's gonna be the main character, which is gonna be the main focus, but I sometimes felt that other characters needs another depth or development because so many interesting character, but they doesn't really have a story. There were moments when I wanted to learn more about the people around her and their abilities and their motivation and their story, but the story rarely shifted away from Atlanta. As a result, some supporting characters rarely has, it feels like they're props from her journey, than fully realize themselves as an individuals or human being. Unfortunately, for the summary, unfortunately, Atlanta didn't really work for me because, I appreciated the premise and the journey of her to get to know more about the lesser known heroine from Greek mythology. But I found myself struggling to stay emotionally invested in Greek and in her story. My biggest issue is that the cheating trope with her and Ameliga. I mean, if she's gonna be a female heroine, she's gotta be strong. She's gotta be a strong woman, And the cheating trope just not for me. Like, I didn't understand. It's not really inspiring, and it makes me, don't want to root her as a character anymore. And there were elements I enjoyed, and particularly the mythology and the idea behind Atlanta's journey, the Argonaut crew, but they weren't enough to outweigh my frustrations with the execution. By the end of the book, I felt more disappointed than satisfied. I really want to love this book. I've tried. On paper, it has everything I usually enjoy: Greek mythology, female warrior, adventure, and a legendary heroine. But in practice, it just didn't click with me. So, do I recommend you guys this book? If you like Greek mythology books, just go read it. But, if you hate the cheating trope as much as me, don't. You're gonna be more suffered than satisfied. And that is my honest review about this book. So if you love Greek mythology, then this book is for you. But you gotta beware of the cheating trope and the cheating trope. That's the biggest issue for me. But if you want a compelling characters of a female heroine, go for it. And that's all for me. Thank you.